your last chance to catch the year-end laugh hits. Brighter, funnier, merrier than ever on HBO. It's him. It's Bill Cosby himself.
Hey, we've got to be kidding me.
We're not kidding. It's really him.
How precious.
A one-man powerhouse. And in the true spirit of Fletch,
He's alive.
Chevy Chase sings for his doctor.
River.
Fletch.
I'm Don Corleone.
Holiday bells ring out for Ghostbusters. And Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis proves that there's nothing like a secret admirer.
I just love you more than words can say.
I'm in love.
Ask anyone.
Take your hands off my dark fruit lips.
Ooh, sounds like another teen wolf is on his way.
Did you change your hair?
Michael J. Fox is going through changes.
What do you think about to get worked up?
Flashy match.
Hang on. Volunteers Tom Hanks and John Candy are flying high. Throw away those moving violations. Because mad dogs and weird bedfellows are on the loose.
3 minutes late for my skills.
Nerds!
Nerds.
They're back. Revenge of the Nerds.
That nerd saw me naked. Girl, nerds as good as you.
I drink to that.
Have a jolly good time in December as HBO says goodbye to 86. Enjoy the fun.
Season's greeting from HBO. Reykjavik can be a step, a useful step, and if we persevere, the goal of a better, safer world will someday be ours and all the world's. So, again, thank you. God bless you.
It's not necessarily the year in review, with a comprehensive wrap-up of the events in 1986, plus soccer topics that happened at the tail end of 85. Reported by the not necessarily the year in review news team, stationed all around the globe to tell it like it was, what it was like, and like what it is. With Helen St. Thomas in Washington, Steve Casper in New York, Frosty Kimmelman in Rome, Pete Kimmelman in Paris, Steve Casper in Beirut, Helen St. Thomas in Managua, Frosty Kimmelman in the Philippines, Pete Kimmelman in Mexico City, Frosty Kimmelman in Tel Aviv, Helen St. Thomas in Cairo, Steve Casper in Morocco, Pete Kimmelman in Libya, Helen St. Thomas in Panmunjom, Steve Casper in Addis Ababa, Frosty Kimmelman in Kiravanport, Pete Kimmelman in Dnipro Petrovsk, and at the anchor desk, Bob Charles.
Good evening. Well, once again, it's time to look back, to reflect, to ponder, to question, to analyze, and to wonder, how in hell's name did we get in such a mess? Anyway, there was only one really big story to dominate the news in 1986, and we'll get to that in a minute, right after these messages.
Damn, another power outage. Where's the fruit? I can't see anything in here.
That's not a problem anymore, dear.
Oh, there they are. Bright as day. They taste great, too.
Chernobyl brand. They're easy to find.
Chernobyl brand fruits and vegetables.
As we all know, 1986 was a very difficult year for the president. To review these turbulent 12 months, here's Pete Kimmel.
As usual, President Reagan welcomed in the new year at Walter Annenberg's palatial estate in Palm Springs. Soon after, word that Gaddafi had drawn a line of death across the Gulf of Sidra reached the president during a red carpet VIP tour of Disney World and the Epcot Center. Later that same day, the president won an elephant. An attempt by Ferdinand Marcos to steal the elections in the Philippines came up briefly at a cabinet meeting called to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, one of the president's favorites. And the national tragedy of family farm foreclosures didn't seem to interfere with the annual Easter egg hunt at the White House, which some said was the best ever. Chernobyl set off Geiger counters all over Europe, but according to the president, for sheer spectacle, it paled in comparison to Lady Liberty's 100th birthday bash in New York City on the 4th of July. And then it was back to his ranch in Santa Barbara, where the president could ride around on his horse and forget about South Africa, Waldheim, fever, and the deficit.
Autumn brought Danilov, Reykjavik, and Hasselfuss. The president went to the circus, the rodeo, and the tractor pull.
And the big year-end story of Arms for the Ayatollah funding a slush fund for the Contras didn't keep the president from throwing a wonderful White House Christmas party for the Forbes 400 wealthiest Americans. Finally, it was back to the Annenbergs for some much-needed rest and relaxation, after another year of what everyone says is the world's toughest job.
The Senate opened its doors to television cameras for the first time, and viewers at home were able to see some pretty heated oratory, like the attack on the defense budget by Ohio Senator John Glenn.
Glenn found it appalling that roughly $100 billion in taxpayers' money is wasted each year on cost overruns and useless and outmoded systems.
Glenn blamed the administration and its anything-goes attitude when it comes to military spending, calling it a travesty and a national disgrace. He warned that we're heading down a road towards economic collapse and gave the dire prediction that weapons were built to be used. So God save us all. 1986 was a watershed year in Philippine history. We saw an end to a dictatorship and a return to democracy.
President Corazon Aquino came to the United States this summer and charmed many in Washington, including new Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia.
And now, standing by in Hawaii is former Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos. And with him is our own Uncle Fluffy.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, President Marcos.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. That's Captain Crackle, Jay. Hey, Marcos, how come cows have bells? Because their horns don't work. Oh! Okay now. President Marcos, some feel it's only a matter of time before the Aquino government is overthrown. Are you planning a coup to return to power?
I am.
You are? Haven't you done enough to those poor people already? You ought to be ashamed! And you call yourself a president. You're just a bad man. Yeah, and you want 5,000 pairs of shoes and only one pair of socks. Be you! Oh! Ooh. I don't know what you're laughing at. Nobody likes you. Especially me! Now, don't start that. Don't be a crybaby. I know what you ought to do. You ought to pay back the money you took. Yeah! Give it back! Give it back!
All right. All right.
Hey, that's the spirit. Say, maybe he's not so bad after all. You know, maybe... He's asleep. We better go. Let's give him a hot one. Reporting from Hawaii, this is Uncle Flubby. And Captain Croc, turning it back to you, Blob.
That's Bob. Thank you, Uncle Fluffy. Pete?
1986 was a bad year for the petroleum industry. The collapse of oil prices and loss of profits led to the dismissal of OPEC oil minister Sheikh Yamani, who was replaced by a tough new operator.
Let's face it, oil's on its ass, isn't it? Now, here's Helen St. Thomas with some of the major international stories of 1986.
Thanks, Bob. Well, if you had to limit yourself to just one word to describe this past year around the globe, it would have to be terrorism. Terrorists and their benefactors continue to hold much of the world hostage, with such figures as Muammar Gaddafi, Abu Nidal, and the Ayatollah Khomeini responsible for much of this nasty business. Give it to me! It's to you.
A little bit. Please. No, one bit.
We'll have more after this.
Come on. Help me some.
Well, we've got a lot more show to come. We'll be taking a look back at the Bay of Pigs and a look ahead at the upcoming Gaddafi assassination.
Plus, if you can fly a C-123 cargo plane, we'll show you how you can send your own supplies to the Contras in Nicaragua.
All this and more when we come back on the CIA Morning Show.
1986 saw President Reagan and Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev go to Reykjavik, Iceland for their much-awaited summit meeting. The president was optimistic.
So we go to Reykjavik for peace. We go to this meeting for freedom, and we go in hope.
Unfortunately, this summit would end in failure. The two sides unable to come to any agreement on a reduction in the size of nuclear forces. Our demands for smaller deployments of long-range Soviet missiles were met with Soviet counterproposals to limit the number of medium-range American missiles in Europe. Facing stalemate, both sides decided it was best to end the talks and put on hold any future summits until the more basic issues were ironed out. As a result, there were no winners. At least, they like men. Helen?
In July, all the world watched as the newly renovated Statue of Liberty was unveiled during the spectacular Liberty Weekend. Unfortunately, the ceremony dragged on too long, and it got a bit chilly, and the First Lady had a couple of brandies more than she's used to. Later in the year, the statue was deflated, taken on tour, and reinflated for happy crowds all around the country. Then in California, the statue suddenly became rabid, then demented, and turned on a frightened crowd of onlookers. But today, she's proudly back at her post after being sedated with Demerol. And of course, the year ended with the notorious Iranian arms scandal. The president's popularity dropped significantly because of Watergate, the Iranian arms scandal. And some experts are saying that because of Watergate, the Iranian arms scandal, the Republicans may have lost all the gains they've made in the years since Watergate.